Hello. Hi there, welcome to Terrorland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Taurus energy. And I had a card that fell on the floor, and they're not showing themselves, so we'll just kind of put them off to the side. We'll look at them though. Two cards that fell on the floor, kind of off the table, and that people could no longer be looking at. The Four of Pentacles in reverse and the Three of Cups. Okay. Cancer and Capricorn energy. Some people are not looking at some people. If those people aren't working together with them from love, they're not working together with them. Shadowy people are not working with some people who did want to work together with them from love, but that's not their truth. So, we have this world of duality, and people view life differently. Shadowy people could try to hide that they're more materialistic and more emotionally manipulative. And if there's people in their life who won't let them emotionally manipulate them, they don't want to be in a relationship with them. And high vibe people let go of people like that. So, like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Taurus energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Taurus energy. We all have our dualistic nature, and the top row could represent what we would like to do if we are moving forward in life differently. The bottom row can represent some of the fears and insecurities that we're working through. It could also represent kind of a way of living life, or people we had been in a relationship with that we're maybe not in a relationship with anymore, and why. Some people aren't moving forward in life with a little more in high vibe Taurus, having a little more hope and faith and belief in themselves, more inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness. In a more shadowy energy, they might be more caught up in themselves, things they like to indulge in, or caught up more in the world, maybe more about their status, their ego, and their image. And we live in a world in duality. There's always going to be people in the world, probably 50% of the people at any given moment, because in a world of duality where we have free will, we have to be given choice. So 50% of the people are probably motivated and inspired more by love than the ego or the image or the indulgence of it or themselves at any given time. And 50% of the people could be more caught up in those things at any given time. And everybody has the free will to manifest whatever life they want and to make their life about what they want. And in a more shadowy Taurus energy, they could be more about themselves, indulging in things, or more about the ego or the image, or, love these things of the world, and might be kind of how they define their worth and value and what makes them feel like they have worth and value. And so we can all want stability, security, be in friendship, relationship, look victorious and successful. It's just that other people are more balanced about it. Do I want those things? Yes. Am I willing to sacrifice my truth or a more balanced life, balanced with truth and love and justice and fairness, to have those things? No. And some people are. So, the reason for the bottom row's reading is the Ace of Swords, which can represent all three of the air signs. So, anybody in their air sign energy within themselves, in their Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. Gemini is about our dualistic free will nature. The truth is, some people, that is the foundation they choose to operate their life from. And in their Libra nature of themselves, they think that's just and fair, which it is. They have the free will. And in Aquarius, it could be more about themselves for these things of the world, or what they indulge in, living the dream life, And we all can have been more manipulated by the world and caught up in things of the world. Life is going on this journey to In the Temperance card, learn these lessons in life, because the Temperance is Sagittarius energy about going on this journey to learn these lessons in life. The reason for the top rose reading is the Magician, and with that is Gemini, air sign energy about our dualistic nature. We all have had lessons to learn. We've all had to go on these journeys. We go on this journey of life to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And underneath that card is the Six of Wands. The Six of Wands is Leo energy. We either keep staying more inspired in our more worldly egoic nature, or we see, learn these lessons in life and we get more inspired to get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And some people decide, I don't want to make my life more about indulging myself in my more worldly egoic nature. And with these lessons that I've learned, I am more inspired in my dualistic nature of free will to want a more balanced life, because that's like high vibe Virgo. Do I want some of these things in the world? Yes, I want those things just like everyone else. But I also equally want justice and fairness and love. And for some people, that's not their truth. Some people are just more immature, more about themselves, more about the ego and the image. And the truth is, it takes work and effort. The bottom row can represent our more egoic nature. uh, it takes work and effort to shed layers of your more worldly, immature nature. You'd have to see the truth. And some people have a hard time of seeing the truth that in a shadowy Leo nature within themselves, that they are kind of more about themselves or make these things of the world more important. And, if you think the most important thing in the world is either to be about me or to indulge in these things, that's like me living the dream life. Look at me, I get to do whatever I want. And I don't have to grow up and mature myself or temper my ego or learn lessons. Because you have to temper your ego to be willing to learn lessons. And some people are like, no, I don't have to. It's like, okay. And other people are more willing to temper their ego, inspired within themselves. High vibe Leo. I don't want my more immature nature, prideful nature, defensive nature, self-centered nature, lazy nature, past pain and heartbreak, whatever. I don't want those things to keep manipulating me. I want to free myself. I'm inspired to grow and mature myself. In high vibe Leo, to be proud of myself. And other people, you have to be motivated within yourself to want to even deal with the truth. If it's past pain and heartbreak, you have to be willing to work through it. If it's immaturity, lust, greed, pride, ego, you'd have to be willing to see the truth of it. And some people are like, I think I can just keep doing things the way I do it. I'm sure it'll work out fine. And yeah, we could all live whatever type of life that we want, you know? And some people are just balancing out their emotions, is what the Temperance card can talk about, that they've decided to live their life operating more from their ego. And part of that could be, I don't want to do love. I get hurt doing love. There's some things I don't want to deal with the truth of about other people in my life that I could want to stay in relationship with. I don't want to see the truth about them. They might be kind of shadowy, but I'm not willing to kind of speak my truth and not we're either indulging poor behavior in ourselves or others, or high vibe Six of Wands, which can talk about balance. It's supposed to be just and fair. And you're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. But high vibe energy, which is the Virgo energy in the Magician, is being more independent. And some people, they're not willing to be more independent. So they'll keep balancing out their emotions of letting whatever it is that manipulates them manipulate them. If it's things within themselves, things from their past, other people in their life. If it looks good by worldly standards, which is what shadowy Taurus can be about, it has the status, it has the image, or I'm codependent on these things, I'm addicted to these things, or I'm just in codependent energy, I don't kind of love and believe in myself. I'd have to put in work and effort to work through these issues that all these cards down here that aren't showing themselves. That's a lot of work. And I'd maybe have to speak my truth. I'd maybe have to come out from behind my ego. I'd have to learn all these lessons. I'd have to wrap my brain around all these things that manipulate me. And I'd have to free myself from all those things. And, some people did this work in bite-sized pieces. That's also like high vibe Virgo that we all harness. Periodically throughout our life, some people could have worked through this. This could have been the first thing that some people had to learn in life. They worked through that one and they kept moving forward. And then they had to work through this one and this one and this one and this one. Some people worked on them, and that's high vibe Virgo, periodically. Small steps along the journey. Some other people did not. And they maybe didn't think they had to. Maybe they just thought, you can just bury things under the surface, kind of in your ego. I don't have to deal with that. And they just keep ignoring things that bother them, manipulate them. You know, I don't want to, shadowy energies, I don't want to see the truth. The truth is, I'm just going to keep moving on. The Six of Wands moves away from the Five of Wands, so it's like the Ace of Swords is like the Five of Wands also. Some people could know that they harness shadowy Leo energy or just shadowy energy. They could be immature, prideful, stubborn, materialistic, full of themselves, might have a certain status image, might look victorious in the world, might be charming, might have look like they have justice in the world, whatever it is. And they could have thought, no, that'll carry me through. Because of maybe these more worldly things that I think are more important, I don't think maybe in a way that I have to grow and mature in myself in these other ways. High vibe energy at a big picture. What do we got here? Oh, yeah, the Emperor. The Emperor is about to really be a high vibe emperor in our own life, whether we're male or female. The masculine cards can represent how we're presenting ourselves in the world and how we're kind of taking action in the world. To really be a high vibe emperor, you have to be balanced in all four suits of the deck: the heart, the mind, the worldly nature, and the creative, inspired, passionate nature. And realizing that all four are part of us. We have our mind, we have our heart, we have our worldly nature, we have our creative, passionate nature, is to realize that all four are equally important. And that if I make one or others like, oh, that's not important, I don't have to invest in that. I think I can get by without it. That was the idea they had. I think I can get by without it. And it could have been, I don't think I have to get balanced. The Temperance card is fire sign energy, just like Leo's fire sign and the Emperor's fire sign. Normally in a typical Temperance card, maybe in a Rider-Waite deck, they show them pouring the two cups and blending them together. And in our fire sign nature, there are these things in the world that we want to manifest and indulge in, and we can kind of be a little more immature and about ourselves. And in the cup of water, which is kind of like our more emotionally intuitive, loving nature, to temper that where it's not just more about us, but again, some people are just more about them. And that, but again, you have to be motivated and inspired to even want to temper your more immature, which is shadowy Sagittarius, and your more egoic nature, being about yourself or more of these things of the world, which can be looking to things other than love to kind of be the answer, and maybe even disregarding love. I don't need to do love. I can, shadowy energy, create the illusion that I'm more just, fair, balanced, authentic, loving, motivated by love, more tempered in my ego nature or my immature nature or whatever. And then they just try to present themselves as a high vibe emperor in the world. So other people will get in a relationship with them. But as people get in a relationship with them, and if the other people are more, not more about themselves, not more immature in a way, the other people really had worked through some of these issues, or during the course of life or in friendships and relationships with different people, they work through some of these issues and they're really ready to move forward in life in a more balanced way, authentic way, just and fair and loving way. High vibe Gemini, dualistic nature. I choose truth and love. And I have put work and effort in myself to grow and mature myself. And Taurus can have to do with our philosophy of life and what our truth is. And the truth is, some people just try to present themselves as high vibe, more stable, more grounded, more mature than they really are, and they're not. And eventually, as other people get in relationships with them, eventually those people kind of see the truth and they move on. And the shadowy people don't want to see the truth. They just decide to go start all over and do this again with someone else. So they go get in a different friendship, a different job, a different relationship, and they do the whole thing all over again. We'll all repeat certain patterns and viewing life a certain way, having our truth, our philosophy of life in our Taurus nature of what we think is just and fair, and our idea of the dream life in our Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini nature, and our egoic nature. And some of those people will just keep repeating this pattern over and over and over because they don't want to see the truth that maybe they're a little competitive. Maybe they have some inner conflict and things that cause them inner conflict, but they never are inspired within themselves to put in the work and effort to work through those things. So they go get in the next job, friendship, or relationship, hiding that all these things kind of manipulate them. And eventually, the other people that are trying to work with them, they're trying to move things forward in a more balanced, authentic, loving way to bring a dream into reality. And they realize, like, they can't do it. At the end of the story of the top row is the Hierophant. You could look at it like, which is Taurus energy. We all have our more beastly nature in a way. Or we temper our more beastly nature to hopefully be inspired within ourselves to temper our more egoic nature of self to invest in truth and love. And some of the people that are kind of repeating that type of pattern could have some people in their life that are telling them, you can't come with. Because your truth is different than my truth. Your long-term goals, what drives and motivates you, what you think is just and fair. Sometimes we can have people that are kind of shadowy that want to keep being in friendship or relationship or marriage with us, or for us to stay in that job. But those people keep wanting to keep moving forward the way they keep moving forward. Like, well, I want to do this and you do that. Well, I want to invest and work with other people who have done this work within themselves and learned some of these same lessons in life. And you haven't. And though you could be my adult child, brother, sister, mom, dad, friend, family, coworker, I'm going to go focus more of my attention and work and effort with people who do work together with me in that way. And you don't. So let's go look up here. We have the Emperor and the Queen of Cups. I view the Queen of Cups as Scorpio energy, which, like Taurus, is fixed sign energy, which can be, if people don't work through some of these ways of living life and viewing life, and again, some people, Scorpio, emotional water sign energy, and the Queen of Cups, some people emotional are just more about themselves. And they want to move forward with people. You be more tempered, you be more just and fair, and authentic and loving and encouraging, and I want to keep coming with you. But oh, by the way, I don't want to grow or heal or mature myself. But don't you love me? And that's what some people are looking for. They're looking for someone who is in opposite Taurus energy, who is more motivated and inspired by truth and love, to put in a lot of work and effort to hoping maybe one day they'll change, because the 6 moves away from the 5 and the 5 is about change, and they can put a lot of work and effort in with these different people in their life, being loving and encouraging and just and fair and acting with character and integrity, hoping one day those people will kind of see the truth and get inspired within themselves, because Aries energy is about the self, to love themselves, to take over that role within themselves. But for some people, they don't want to do that. No, it's not their idea of a great relationship. No, I get in relationship with people like you. You're supposed to play that role in my life. I don't think that's my job. I don't think I should have to do that. And so they want to keep being whatever kind of shadowy way of being that they are. And they want people who are loving to just kind of keep indulging them and just balancing out their emotions about being in a relationship with someone who acts like this. And people can do that for a long time. The Temperance card can talk about being very patient. But eventually what the shadowy people don't see is that eventually people can't keep staying in denial of the truth, which is about what the bottom row is about. I can be loving and encouraging and supportive to people, but if they don't learn to love themselves and deal with some of these issues within themselves and kind of grow up and mature themselves and get out of their ego or their fear or their codependency or being bossy or controlling or more about themselves, this might be their idea of the dream life and relationship, but it's not mine. And eventually people tell them the truth. I am moving forward and you are not coming with in this energy. Now, if you want to do this work within yourself and communicate the truth and see the truth, because the truth sets you free, of how you were kind of bossy or controlling or fearful or whatever, then let me know. In the meantime, I'm moving on to manifest what I want to manifest, aligned with my truth and my long-term goals, which apparently I have come to see is different than yours. So then we have the Page of Pentacles, the Two of Cups, the Star, the Queen of Swords, and the Hierophant. So the Page of Pentacles is kind of willing to be a student of life, willing to learn lessons. And some people, again, you've got to temper your ego nature to even be willing to see the truth that maybe some people would benefit from being willing to, our Virgo nature goes within to shed light on some of these things that could manipulate us or are more immature, self-indulgent, or manipulative or prideful or stubborn nature, right? And our Virgo nature goes within to deal with those things too. And high vibe Leo, also represented by the Sun card, is being willing to see the truth where if I keep doing what I'm doing, my life doesn't move forward. If I am just more stubborn, more prideful, more self indulgent, if I indulge poor behavior in myself or others, I keep repeating this pattern. And if there's something I don't like about it, kind of in the Five of Wands, where I could feel like I keep having a lot of inner conflict. Again, I could look to getting in friendship or relationship for those people to be the answer to my problems. But I can be around loving and encouraging people. But until I deal with my own inner conflict and learn to be inspired within myself, to love and believe in myself, I'm going to keep carrying all my inner conflict with me. And those things will keep manipulating me that stop me from maybe taking more inspired action in my life. And then I can get in friendships and relationships with other people who are happy that I'm in competitive energy, fearful energy, codependent, don't love and believe in myself. There's people that'll be happy that I'm in a relationship with them being in that energy, either because those are the kind of people they want to be in a relationship with, or because they're kind of in some shadowy energy of their own. But if I want a more balanced, authentic, just, fair, balanced, loving relationship, and if the relationships or friendships or workplaces that I'm at, that doesn't seem to be the case, well, I can't change other people. The only person I can change is myself. And I could have love for those people, and I could not want to leave that situation. But if things aren't moving forward in alignment with my idea of the dream life, or in a way that I think is just and fair, or my truth, or people acting more in high vibe Taurus with character and integrity, or maybe even treating me like the competition they need to defeat when I'm trying to work together with them cooperatively in love, whether they're a romantic partner, a love interest, or a family member. I don't want to be in relationships with people who don't offer me love and encouragement to love and believe in myself, to grow to my full potential. And it might be because they don't want to do that because they want to keep repeating an old pattern and they want me to keep repeating it. So I need to do this work within myself to figure out what got me in that relationship, what made me stay in it, because the only person I can change is me. And again, sometimes we did that within those jobs, friendships, or relationships, and we kind of came out on the other side. This Virgo energy of doing this work within ourselves, that's kind of like internal work. And again, we can be in loving and encouraging relationships with people, and we could think, oh my gosh, I found someone who kind of seems to be on the same page as me. And you might even do some of this inner work because you might be afraid if you don't, maybe the relationship won't last or the job won't last. If you keep repeating certain patterns, that you need to grow up and mature yourself. So you can do this work, or you're just kind of inspired within yourself to kind of look at some of the things that kind of manipulate you, whatever those things are. And you kind of come out on the other side, and then you could realize that the people you're in a relationship with, now they don't want to be in the relationship because you changed. And so they can seem like people that, yeah, I want you to work through some of those issues. Oh, just don't work through enough that you ever want to go do anything different. Because I want to do this. I like this kind of relationship dynamic, and I don't want to have to do any work within myself. And, sometimes people can like to get in relationships with people where I know they have a lot of work to do. I know they did this, I know they did that, and I'm this loving and encouraging person. Look what a great person I am. And again, it's kind of like building your ego off of the fact that, and even high vibe loving people can do that, where, you don't realize that's kind of what it is, and you don't kind of realize how it wears on your self esteem. Why aren't you just being in relationships with people who you don't have to change? Why get in relationships with right away you see they're immature, or they're bossy, or they're more prideful, or they're more stubborn, or they're more defensive, or they have a lot of things that manipulate them? Why not just go get relationships with people who don't seem to be manipulated by those things? But sometimes we were the ones who were manipulated by some things, and we had some healing and growing, maturing to do. And some of the people we got in relationships with, we were loving and encouraging and supportive to each other, or hopefully we wouldn't have kept staying in it. But the problem can be when you shed a layer of your more worldly egoic nature in the Five of Wands, and you work through some things, maybe some other people in your life, they haven't worked through some of those things. And then it is kind of like you're on different pages. You're kind of ready to move forward, have a little more hope and faith and belief in yourself and in your dreams, and maybe look at life from a higher perspective, maybe put some things in perspective. Again, some things that might have really had you up in your head, or caused you fear or insecurity or something, or just being in your more worldly nature. You could just look at life from a different perspective now, and then, it is kind of what you want to invest your time, energy, and effort into, or how you view life, or um, is different than what it had been before. And sometimes we could have some lovely people in our life, but and sometimes other people can be in their friendship groups, their relationships, their families, and sometimes we're kind of on different pages. It's just like, say someone is dating someone, or someone gets married, or someone has children. If we're not dating someone, we're not married, we're not having children, it is kind of like we're on different pages, so they can be lovely people. But, that should be their primary focus, and they could be moving forward investing more in those things. And so then, they're not in our life, or hanging out with us as much as they used to, but we don't give up on our dreams. And just like we can have that happen with friendships, um, if people that we've been in romantic relationships with, or could have married, that we thought a dream was going to come into reality and then it didn't work out. High vibe people don't want to keep staying in the Five of Wands energy, which can be kind of in your ego about it, and conflicted energy. And, you want to move on. So, high vibe, the Ace of Swords, would be again about offering truth and love to yourself, to get out of your ego about it, to get inspired, not to give up on your dreams. My dreams aren't codependent on certain people or things or whatever being in my life. It is high vibe Sagittarius is kind of going with the flow. It's not all about me. Other people aren't going to make their life all about me. And, uh, you know, I guess high vibe people in the star card of Aquarius harness high vibe Aquarius energy. They have more hope and faith and belief that there's like the divine has a plan for their life, that, you know, and looking at life from a higher perspective, that everybody is where they're at. What I might want to go do and what I might be more motivated and inspired by, and my truth and my idea of the dream life can be different than what other people are motivated and inspired by, but they want to go invest their time, energy, and effort in their idea of the dream life. I need to work with people who are more on the same page as me at all these different ages and stages of life that I'm at. And while some people could have been people that we could have been loving and encouraging people and in friendship and relationships with people at at these different stages of life, sometimes we don't stay on the same page. And so investing in love to look at life from a higher perspective. In the Queen of Swords, the Star card and the Queen of Swords, I both view as Aquarius energy, that though we could feel the Queen of Swords emotionally, doesn't matter if you're male or female, we kind of feel betrayed. But if we deal with the truth of it, kind of wrap our brain around it, balance out our emotions, everybody has the free will to live their life the way they want to live it, invest in what they want to invest in. Their truth probably wasn't my truth, or maybe it could have been some conflict, some fighting, maybe in our Taurus, our air sign energy, our fire sign energy, in our more worldly or egoic or hopeful or believing loving nature. There was differences, or there came to be differences, and that's when high vibe people look to the future, and in their Taurus philosophy of life, they take the lessons that they learn from that life experience and appreciate the good things and any negative things they could have learned. If it was, oh, I came into contact with some people who are definitely not motivated and inspired by love, that is not their truth. In a more shadowy Scorpio, they could be more about themselves, more about the world, more about the superficial and shallow, and that's their truth. And the truth sets you free. If some people, they like and love or want to be in a relationship with someone else, okay, I accept the truth of that. I get out of my ego about it. That doesn't mean my dreams can't come into reality. I have my truth, they have their truth, and I am going to put this work and effort to love and believe in myself and invest in my truth and my dream and look to the future and keep things in perspective and keep walking my truth. And in high vibe energy, you are someone making good decisions in your life, wants to be in deep, meaningful relationships, is willing to be a student of life, less stubborn, less prideful, less defensive. Love is what motivates and inspires you. And there's other people that you're going to meet. Again, when we kind of distance ourselves also from the people in our life who we know that's not their truth, we're going to meet other people who've kind of gone through similar situations that we're more on the same page with, and that are also more willing to be a student of life, who probably also had to distance themselves from some jobs, friendships, and relationships with some people in their life that were more shadowy, people who wanted to be in relationships with other people. And some of those people in our life could say, you don't have to go any further. This is where you can stay to manifest. But just like that could be getting in relationships, when you listen to your intuition, to get out of your ego about things that aren't aligned with your truth, and listen to your intuition and love to guide you, eventually you kind of get in relationships with people who are more on the same page as you. And it could just be people who are, again, more mature, more stable, more grounded, have more hope and faith and belief in themselves, don't try to manipulate or control people, are less immature. And those are people that you can work with as part of your journey of manifesting your dreams into reality. So the Hierophant can represent friendships, relationships, workplaces, organizations, philosophies of life. Taurus can kind of represent all these different institutions of the world. But in high vibe, it could be also that you might know some people who are just more caught up in the world, and it's more about the ego or the image or the status or being in a relationship to be in a relationship. And you don't want to be in workplaces, friendships, or relationships more out of those ego reasons. You want to be in jobs, friendships, and relationships with people who work together with people, and want to work there and are loving and encouraging people. Everybody kind of willing to humble themselves to work together with people cooperatively to bring a common dream into reality. And people who, keep learning lessons, keep incorporating those things that they learn into willing to incorporate that into their philosophy of life, because Taurus is like the Supreme Court in our own head, and it kind of dictates the decisions that we make in our life. And some people are unwilling, they emotionally maybe either don't think they have any lessons to learn in life, don't look at life from a higher perspective. In really high vibe Taurus energy, it's about being a spiritual leader in the world, which, you can be kind of a high vibe person, just that you go out and treat other people the way you like to be treated. Um, Not trying to build your ego off of like belittling or berating and, I don't know, kind of snubbing people like, well, look what I wear and look what I look like and look how much more I have of this than you. And that makes me more important. Everybody in the world, whatever their job and status in the world, um, all helps makes the world go round, right? And everybody is worth treating with respect. That would be high vibe Taurus. And to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And for some other people, it's like, oh, that ain't my truth. I'm more about me. Or why would I want to encourage other people to have a great day or anything? Because some of them don't give a damn about anybody else because it's just all about them. And just don't look at life from a higher perspective, just so consumed with themselves. And some of them could be quite prideful and competitive and jealous. Why would I want to even encourage that person or give that person their flowers? They're the competition. I want it to be all about more about me. And it's like, okay, let's go look at some of these issues down here. The High Priestess, the Seven of Swords, the King of Cups, the Seven of Cups, the Five of Swords, the Queen of Wands, and the Two of Swords. So we kind of end the story down here. Oh, no, wait, that's the Three of Swords. People, we all can go through this until we finally kind of break through, right? But we can try to do things differently, just like any of us who've tried to change a habit or a vice or a bad pattern. But we can give up, right? So some people do try to listen to their intuition, and in this, that's the High Priestess. And in the Seven of Swords, try to look at life. The Seven of Swords is Aquarius energy, to look at life to a higher perspective and to maybe love themselves, to kind of work through some of their emotional confusion. If we add the one cup of the King of Cups to the Seven of Cups, it's kind of working through some of our emotional confusion and people in our life that we could have love for, or vices, or the ego and the image or whatever, to be able to walk away from it, kind of see the truth of some of these things that manipulate us. But then we have the Five of Swords, and, you know, we'd have to reflect on the truth of some situations, things about ourselves, maybe where we need to heal and grow and mature ourselves, see the truth about other people in our life, and then we'd have to take action. Because, you know, these are masculine cards, which again could talk about taking action. We'd have to like speak our truth, communicate our truth, and be willing to kind of distance ourselves from some people who might not want us to do that. And then we have the Queen of Wands and the Three of Swords. And so the Queen of Wands is Leo. They kind of get stuck between having hope and faith and belief in themselves, looking at life from a higher perspective, thinking of maybe taking action in a more balanced way or communicating their truth to some people. But, from the Five to the Three of Swords, we have to work through that Two of Swords, and listen to our intuition and quit staying in denial of the truth and kind of be bold and brave and confident within ourselves emotionally, to not kind of wanting to hide from the truth. And maybe if we thought of speaking our truth and loving and believing in ourselves, we could be sad. The Three of Swords can talk about being heartbroken because, again, we maybe have to distance ourselves from some habits or patterns or people. And then we'd have to keep kind of maintaining balance within ourselves and loving and believing in ourselves and believing in our dreams and not repeat poor patterns and not indulge people in poor behavior. And some people just aren't there yet, and some people may never get there. Some people don't want to speak their truth, don't want to illuminate the truth. Some people don't want to speak their truth to other people in their life. For some other people, maybe a more shadowy people, they try to balance out their emotions and create the illusion that they're a more just, fair, stable, grounded person than they are. But they could hide that emotionally they like to live more from their mind than their heart in all three of their air sign energies, which anyone can decide to do that. And they could think in the King of Cups, it can kind of be where I don't think I really have to do love, because in order to do love, I'd maybe have to do this work within myself to get to know myself emotionally, get more connected in with myself emotionally, maybe heal from some things, get out of my ego, kind of see the truth about things that manipulate me, or even how my defensive nature, because our ego can be our more self-protected defensive nature. I don't want to do love, I could get hurt. And that all takes work and effort. And they could start to do it, but then there could be some things, the Five of Swords can be some things that they have mental conflict about seeing the truth of. And again, it could be other people in their life who manipulate them, and they have a hard time kind of reconciling themselves with the fact that they could have some people in their life that they love, but they don't like to see that those people maybe try to manipulate or control them, or that maybe those people are a little more superficial or shallow, is what shadowy King of Cups and Seven of Cups can be. That maybe those people and some people in the world in the Five of Swords, it can mean that some people seem to want to win at all costs, and they don't really care who else gets hurt. And sometimes people are in friendships and relationships with those people, and they could know that about those people, that they're really kind of stubborn or prideful or full of themselves, but they love them. So, and they could know that maybe if they were to speak their truth or distance themselves from those people, that those people would be defensive to them. If you're inspired to heal and get more balance within yourself, and you're not gonna act like this anymore, or behave like this, or think like this, wear a false mask, you're gonna free yourself, you're gonna love yourself, well, you look at life differently than us, and now you're on a different page, and we're gonna keep doing what we do, and we might be in more competitive, conflicting or hurtful energy towards you. And some people aren't willing to stand up for themselves. But some people are deceiving people. They do wear a false mask. They are more emotionally shallow and superficial. They do want to win at all costs. They don't really care who gets hurt. It's just all about them. They are more about the ego and the image and themselves. And it has to be more about themselves. Either someone has to indulge them, or they would be willing to indulge someone else if it gave them the status and the ego and the image or whatever that they want, because that's a shadowy Taurus relationship, that it's more transactional. And that can be their truth and how they view life. They could create the illusion that they're a pillar of society. They look at life from a higher perspective. They believe in love. They're not more materialistic, like as if they have a higher belief system. But some people, they don't. It's just an illusion they create in the world so that other people will view them as being that kind of person. But it's just to get people to work with them in the world and get in relationships with them. But really, some of those people really have a lot of mental conflict about love, and they could just think love is an illusion. Everybody's just more about themselves. Everybody's more about the status and the ego and the image, and everybody's trying to manipulate everyone else for how it benefits them, and that love is an illusion. And, and if that's their truth and how they think, they could think other people are just creating an illusion. Just as hard a time as we have understanding people who think in a much more shadowy way and much more selfish, much more about themselves, consumed with it having to be about them or these things they indulge in or the ego or the image, and so manipulated by the world. They don't believe that maybe other people aren't really manipulated by those things to the degree that they are, and that other people aren't as self-consumed and egotistical or narcissistic or competitive or immature or self-indulgent. They just could think everybody tries to temper their more shadowy nature. Everybody's shadowy. Which, yeah, we all have our shadow nature, but some people really work through some of these more immature, egoic, self centered, all about themselves to grow and mature themselves, you know? And some of the other people just acted like they grew up and matured themselves, but they didn't. So some people really shed some of those old ways of being. They would be appalled if they acted like some of the ways they could have acted when they were 15 or 18 or 21 or 25. The other people, you know, are just kind of hiding. They probably would really rather act that way, but people wouldn't be in friendship or relationship with if they did kind of more indulge that way of being, so they kind of like keep that aspect of themselves more buried under the surface. But for some of those people, that really is the truth of who they are. And if some people are just more about ego or image or themselves, they can feel very betrayed by people who they could have gotten in friendship or relationship with, or a job, where those people weren't willing to stay in it more for those worldly reasons. And the other people are like, just the worldly reasons aren't enough to make me stay here, but we'll pay you more. Look what we have, and look at the stability, look like the image, look at the status, look how maybe I indulge you or something. If they are someone, I don't even think high vibe people want to be indulged, um but sometimes we don't know people are indulging us. Shadowy people, again, can just wear a false mask. They feel like they're indulging people. Other people are working together with people cooperatively from love because they love the people. And the other people, it's kind of like, I wouldn't do this if it wasn't for these reasons. And if I've been indulging you, high vibe people freely give of themselves because that is the truth of who they are. shadowy people could feel like, I don't want to freely give of myself, or if I do, well, not really freely give of themselves, but kind of work more cooperatively with people when they could have been more rude or bossy or whatever, right? Um, it's like they're more mad that if they were kind of weren't more shadowy. And high vibe people were being authentic and they're proud of themselves and they can take those ways of being to the next job, friendship, or relationship. And the other people are mad that maybe they weren't just more about themselves or gave of themselves to people. And then they're upset that, you know, I shouldn't have opened up to that person. I shouldn't have, it's one thing to learn if we got in a relationship with someone who is shadowy that I should get to maybe know people more. That's the Page of Pentacles. I'm willing to get to know people to figure out kind of what their truth is, how they view life, what their philosophy of life is. And the relationship isn't moving forward until I know more about what their truth is. Because I've already been in relationships with people who wear a good false mask. But I don't belittle and berate myself and get mad at myself. The fact that I was loving and encouraging or whatever, or authentic with people when it didn't work out. I'm proud of myself that I acted with character and integrity and I gave the highest energy of all. And for some of those people, that wasn't enough, because for shadowy people, enough is never enough. I want more attention. I want it to be more about me. I want to be more controlling. I want more, more, more. Shadowy energy at the big pictures represented by the devil. And shadowy people, they got some lessons to learn, had the free will in a relationship to grow up and mature themselves. And some of them thought, no, I think I can repeat some of these poor past patterns. I think they love me. I don't think they'll love and believe in themselves. I think they'll be defensive to becoming independent of me. I think they'll defend me being in these kind of more shadowy ways of being. And the high vibe people in their life felt betrayed, and they had to do this work within themselves to love and believe in themselves and work through their fears and insecurities of becoming independent and not staying in a relationship with people who weren't just and fair. And they did. And now the shadowy people are hiding from people that they're in a relationship with and trying to deceive people about the people, some of the people they'd been in a relationship with, that those people were just and fair and loving and were loving and encouraging, and tried to help them work through some of the issues that manipulated them. And they repeated some poor past patterns and thought those people wouldn't love and believe in themselves and kind of indulged themselves. And the other people saw the truth of it eventually and kind of called judgment on them and decided, I'm not doing that anymore. And some of them could kind of be hiding that they're heartbroken, but still too prideful and egotistical or whatever to, again, life's about learning lessons. Was I immature? Did I try to manipulate someone? The truth sets you free. Some people will keep moving forward their whole life, not willing to take accountability for their actions. And maybe actions that they take keep making them not proud of themselves, but they keep doing it because they give in to their more immature, shadowy, prideful, defensive, fearful nature. What's coming out for some people who harness some high vibe Taurus energy that they might not see coming? The Star card. Why? Because of the Ten of Pentacles. So the Ten of Pentacles, like in the Magician, is Virgo energy, and the Star card is Aquarius energy. The high vibe people got motivated within themselves to do this work within themselves, to look at life from a higher perspective, put things in perspective, have more hope and faith and belief in themselves and in love. Realizing they have high vibe energy to align with. Shadowy energy can be where we think we only have these things of the world to work with. High vibe Virgo is we've been given all these unique talent, skills, and interests, including our intuition. We choose what emotions we choose and thoughts we choose to invest in every day and keep investing in. And the high vibe people invest in looking at life from a higher perspective, listening to their intuition, putting in work and effort to heal, work through their emotional confusion, work through their pride, their ego, their fear, their past pain and heartbreak, to grow and mature themselves, to not give up on themselves, not give up on their dreams, willing to be a student of life, kind of trusting their more high vibe nature and the divine to be what they invest in the actions that they take in their life. And the tens can talk about closing out a cycle. And so you kind of learn the lesson you're meant to learn, and you get to go on to the next level of the video game of life and have a new beginning. Not wanting to repeat this pattern again. You learned what you needed to learn to listen to your intuition, stand up for yourself, love and believe in yourself, that I'm not going to repeat that pattern. If people show me they're in more shadowy energy, thank you for showing me the truth of who you are. And out of love for myself, can I know you and have you in my neighborhood or my family or my workplace? Yeah. Am I going to invest more time, energy, and effort into you than a social acquaintance? No. I'm going to go invest in other people who seem to have learned these lessons in life, who aren't repeating some of those patterns. And those are the people you can have your dream come into reality with. And when you invest in your own unique talent, skills, and interest, those were things that were given to you as a gift to help you manifest stability and security in your life. And being open to being a student, being willing to explore different ways of looking at life that you maybe had never had before. And, you could find those things that are really aligned with your truth. And while you're doing that, some other people are going to try to balance out their emotions, that they didn't choose to do that, and that they keep choosing to align with their more worldly egoic nature. So what's coming up with them? High vibe people are going to be very stable and grounded within themselves, in relationships with people who are very stable and grounded, who are very loving and nurturing and supportive and encouraging. So kind of like living the dream life than indulging people in poor behavior. What's coming up for some people who harness some shadowy? So the high vibe people have cut out people who are more closed off to love in the Four of Pentacles and the Three of Cups, who are more about the world and try to emotionally manipulate people, and the world emotionally manipulates them. And the more shadowy people let go of the people who wouldn't let go of their more loving nature to make their life more about them or the world. And they're going to go find some people who are more about either them, being about them, or these things of the world. Okay, let's get out a card here. Okay. Ooh, okay. Those cards fell on the floor. What they don't see coming it's really maybe buried. They might not know for a really long time. Okay. Eight of Swords, the Four of Wands, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Six of Swords, which is Aquarius energy, and this is Gemini. What they don't see coming is that as long as they keep juggling the truth, which is to really move forward victoriously and successfully, is to be balanced. To temper your more immature egoic nature, to get more balance within yourself. It's like trying to ride a vehicle. The emperor gets in the chariot, and if you were to look at a car and you think, oh, I don't have to have air in those tires. That tire or those two tires or those three tires, they're not important. The other people have all four. They invested in all four aspects of themselves. They move forward in a truly stable, grounded, victorious manner. The other people could look very victorious and successful in the world, but they still go back and forth. They still juggle the truth. They get in romantic relationships, but they kind of go back and forth about still not having committed to doing love. They hide that they're still up in a mental prison about love or being more just or fair or balanced in a relationship. And they kind of don't want to see the truth of it. But they want to be in relationships and they want other people to work with them. And they think, they keep thinking the wheel of fate will move in their favor. Well, it can move in their favor if what they're putting work and effort into is more maybe financial. If you work with things of the world and that's what you make your priority, yeah, you can be very victorious and successful in the world. But with free will, we sacrifice things. We have to make these decisions. They sacrifice the opportunity for them to be more balanced. The Four of Wands is Aries energy. They could have been firing on all four cylinders, and then things would have moved much more easily for them. But they don't want to listen to their intuition, and they might not look at life from a higher perspective, and they might not be able to keep things in perspective, and they might not listen to their intuition. And so they kind of get up in their head about all these things. And again, they could be someone, if they know they're kind of being deceptive and manipulative and they're wearing a false mask and they really are more about themselves, well then, even if they get in relationships with people who are more authentic and just and fair and loving, they know they're not. And since they know they're not, then they could think other people aren't. And even if they had people that they could have moved forward with, because they're so distrustful of having more hope and faith and belief in themselves and in others and in love, the more high vibe people in their life are going to move away from them. Or because they could have been more immature, more prideful, more stubborn, more hurtful, more codependent or whatever, and they don't communicate that with people or work through it themselves. They could maybe even just go to extremes where there's just kind of back and forth all the time. And the Wheel of Fortune can be like, one day they're up, the next day they're down, one day they're up, or it could be every, more infrequent than every day. But some people just can't make up their mind. Do I want to do this? Do I not want to do this? Should it be more about me or should I work with them more cooperatively? Do I have hope and faith and belief in love? Do I not? Do I, it's just, I don't know, just really kind of manipulated. And they could be, manipulated about other foundations in their life, because that's what the Four of Wands can talk about. Could be their friend group, it could be their family, it could be all the different people in the world. Because again, shadowy energy can be, I want people to view me this certain way. And so instead of living their truth, it's always trying to create this image in the world. So all these, it's like trying to appease everybody in the world. How about you be proud of yourself and live your truth? And there's always going to be some people who don't like that, But for some people, if they're very much like, oh my gosh, but no, I need to have people view me this way. It's like shadowy Taurus. I need to have this certain image or status in the world, and everybody has to like me, and everybody, it's just like all these different people because they have mental conflict, maybe just about loving themselves to go live their more authentic life. And then if they do get in a relationship, it can always be, well, what do these people think? And what do those people think? And is this good for my ego and my image? And can I manipulate this person? Is this person trying to manipulate me? Is this going to look victorious and successful enough? Is this person in their, like, oh my gosh, what a drama. And there's some people who have been in workplaces or relationships with people like that. They saw the truth and they didn't have to tell everybody the truth because, other people again are there. People got to learn lessons on their own, and people are going to think what they think. You could tell someone, this person is deceptive, this person is manipulative. Oh no, because of the way they present themselves in the world. It's like, I don't have to tell the world. I just believe that things play out, the truth comes to the surface eventually. I'm just going to live my truth. They can live their truth. And I think, kind of makes me think of a bad supervisor I had one time. And, more and more high vibe people leave, and the people who stay are more, not all of them, but some of the people who stay, it's because they have to, or, it can become more of a bully system in a way. Anybody who can be intimidated and controlled, and then, depending on who really runs the business, if it's not, needless, just like a supervisor, they're so codependent on them that they can't even let go of them. But then they have more shadowy people at work, you know? And that's how not standing up for yourself and speaking the truth, we can think, let's just go with the flow. Let's just be patient. Let's just hope everything will work itself out. No, if people have shown you they're immature and shadowy, it's just going to get worse over time. And if they're very much about their ego or their image or they're immature, they're going to throw anybody else under the bus, then take accountability for their actions. And it's probably going to be worse than people thought it was going to be. And everybody else might not handle themselves so well either, just because they get so frustrated. And those people act in ways that they wouldn't want to act. And that's kind of like, that's it. I got to go. This is not my truth. This is not how I want to act or respond or anything. I need to distance myself and heal and let them do what they want to do. But that's a sure sign I need to leave. So there you go, Taurus. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.